On Wednesday, Pope Francis once again raised a few eyebrows, commenting on welcoming migrants. Speaking off the cuff to members of the International Solidarity Fund, he recalled a conversation he once had with someone from the U.S. who told him that Americans were not immigrants because they were already rooted there. Pope Francis recalled correcting the individual this way, quote, "You are a people of migrants, of Irish immigrants and Italian immigrants. The Irish brought you whiskey and the Italians brought you the mafia. Always look at the roots," end quote. Some are reacting with hostility to those comments. One journalist calling it a series of ethnic slurs. We'll discuss all of this in our next segment. But on to more serious news. On Tuesday, an 18-year-old gunman in Uvalde, Texas, opened fire at an elementary school, killing 19 children and 2 adults before being killed by a Border Patrol unit. It was the deadliest school attack since Sandy Hook in Connecticut in 2012. Grief and anger have spread across the U.S., as well as calls for stricter gun control laws in order to prevent future incidents. But what is motivating these individuals to choose to kill? Here to share his thoughts as a sociologist is president of the Catholic League, Dr. Bill Donohue. Bill, thanks for being here. You've written a piece on these tragic shootings and why you think they will continue if we fail to diagnose what's truly causing them. Now, according to current reports, this shooter shot his own grandmother at home before heading to school, or this school, to conduct his attack. From a sociological standpoint, what emerges to your eye about this shooter? And why do you think he moved to perpetuate this kind of heinous crime and slaughter upon these innocent kids?
Well, I looked at what he did and about his bio, and I also looked at what happened in Buffalo and a couple of years ago in El Paso and in Dayton. Mm-hmm. And in all these cases, there's a common thread here. It's not a matter of guns per se. It's not a matter of race. There's ideologies involved in a couple of cases, in Dayton and the left winger, and in El Paso, the right winger. But in all these cases, you're talking about kids who are, first of all, they're always young men. They're never old men. They're never women. And they're always guys who are asocial. Some of them are antisocial. When I say they're asocial, they have no friends. They are loners, and they're described by that way almost universally by their peers. They come from dysfunctional families in almost every case. They have a fascination with violence. Now, sometimes that's with guns, sometimes it's with video games and the like. These are people who are troubled. They typically have mental issues of one sort or another. And we have a public which is refusing to pay attention to the red flags, about which there are many.
Bill, the conversation inevitably runs to guns in the wake of one of these school shootings. Will tougher gun laws, you think, solve the problem, stop these school shootings?
They're not going to stop them there any more than they are in Chicago. Chicago and in my city, New York City, have some of the toughest gun control laws in the United States. I'm not against reasonable gun control, by the way. I'm not an absolutist on this by any means. But I will say that if Chicago and New York have some of the stringent gun control laws in the country, and all they do is kill each other, where I'm in New York, it's out of control. And Chicago, every Friday and Saturday night, it's absolute bloodshed. So that's not exactly the way to look at it. Look, we have to be more proactive in intervening. These guys have telltale signs. When the guy in Buffalo, they say it was race motivated. Well, was it race motivated that he found a cat in his garage that was going after his own cat? And then he takes a knife and he stabs the cat. And then he smashes the cat's head onto the concrete. Then he takes a hatchet and cuts off his head. This has nothing to do with race whatsoever. The media are race-soaked, the race-folked and soaked in this country on this issue. The other guy in Texas, he takes knives and cuts himself up because it's fun. He goes out and he takes his BB gun and shoots people randomly. Now, these are very serious guys who need to be attended to. No gun control is going to stop these men whatsoever, none.
Yeah, you're talking about this Uvalde shooter here, and it's true. He was addicted to Call of Duty. He had slashed himself with knives and came to school. Here's the question. Why do you think there's such a reluctance to report these individuals when these warning signs emerge?
We have policies and laws in this country that are working against that. Here in New York City, for example, you now have a law which says that after somebody tries to kill you, stab you, rob you, whatever it is, the name and the address of the victim is now made public. This is the idea of racial equity and the rights of the criminals. And so now the guy is released automatically. Of course, everybody's released in New York. He gets held for anything. And now the guy can come after you. He knows who you are and come after you. And the workplace, I've looked at some of the people or the experts who study what's going on in the workplace. Just take the issue of sexual harassment, for example. People are afraid to report because they're afraid that there'll be reprisals against them by their boss. Why did you get so involved? In other words, people are almost rewarded for not reporting. We need to have guidance counselors and others who have to have a psychological profile of these young men. They do have red flags all over the place, but we're not doing the right thing. We need to reward people when they come forward. I wrote about that in The Truth about clergy sexual abuse, that the bishops saw red flags and they didn't act on them. It's true in the schools as well.
Yeah, well, look, it's charitable to help people who are hurting and people who are suffering from mental illness or are drug addicted. When you see that, you have to say something and intervene. But as you said, there are laws in place and a criminal justice system in place to de-incentivize that kind of reportage. So hopefully our elected officials will focus on that as well. Finally, Bill, before I run out of time, your reaction to the Pope saying that the Irish brought whiskey to the U.S. and the Italians brought the mafia.
Yeah, Francis, like every pope or priest, is open to fair criticism on some of the policies he makes. I think the whole country needs to loosen up. When we see somebody who makes a comment which could be interpreted as untoward, so to speak, biased, one of the things we look at is motive. I'm sure that the Pope, he's well up in his years, mid-80s. I'm sure he meant no harm whatsoever. People should take a deep breath and give him a pass.
Give him a pass. Okay, Bill Donohue, thank you for your work, and we will check in with you at thecatholicleague.org.
Thank you.